So it looks like the media has been successful. They got new Patriots kicker, Justin Rohrwasser, to cry. I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? When you catch a kid, and again, he's not a kid. He's 23. Yahoo had the story wrong yesterday, or NBC Sports Boston had it wrong. They had him at 21. He's 23. Says he got the tattoo, the 3% tattoo at 18. Then I would say you're a kid. When you're 18, it's probably in high school or just out of high school. But he got the tattoo. Now, 5 years later, he's forced to explain it. And the decision he made, the choice he made, was to apologize, throw himself on the mercy of the court. And of all people in Boston, Steve Burton from WBZ questioned him. And young Justin Rohrwasser, not only cried, Reamer, but promised to have it ripped off his flesh. And I wouldn't be surprised if this kid, he's kind of crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it himself. Takes a razor blade and just removes his tattoo.
He said he was going to sand it off. He's going to sand it off.
Well, I used
to. We talked about that yesterday. I've seen videos of people getting them lasered off, and it looks like the most painful experience.
It is. It's if you think about it, it's a future. In the future, this is a business that's going to be booming. Tattoo removal, because there's a lot of stupid tattoos on a lot of young, dumb people's bodies. What
do you think about tattoos on people's faces, Jerry? Where do you come down on that debate?
Oh, I think they're wonderful. What's his name? Post Malone. I love it. It's a great look. I love those tattoos across his forehead.
Very nice.
But this kid he said he was going to cover it with, I assume, a Band-Aid or long sleeves or something. But now he says he's going to have it removed. He was known to be a little crazy and actually did a little ink himself with a needle on his own body. So I think he's going to try to remove it. Another former Patriot used to be friendly with me in my old show, Chad Eaton. Do you guys remember defensive lineman Chad Eaton? Totally crazy, but fun and nutty. And we used to have him on all the time. And he had all kinds of tattoos that he regretted one year. The next year he came back and his arms were kind of messed up. He removed them himself. I thought he did it with a razor blade. Maybe he used a sander. I don't know what you use. A cheese grater. I'm not sure what you use, but I think Justin Rohrwasser is going to try to have this removed before he faces the media again in August, or faces the media in person, which we hope will be in August. But it's incredible to me.
The Patriots media, Jeff Howe, you think, would really,
I'm not sure who will do it, but somebody will say, hey, Steve Burton got him to talk for 5 minutes about his tattoos.
But that wasn't a hard-hitting interview. I mean, that was a place for rightful repentance, Jerry.
He cried.
Good.
He cried.
Good. People have cried over far less. That was a terrible thing that he did.
Hold on. I'm glad you're here today. Most people aren't glad you're here, but I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too.
Because I need to understand this further. I'm serious about this. I'm asking. The initial reaction was he's got a white supremacist tattoo. We heard it from Jamel Hill and Mike Freeman and so many others. Deadspin. Talk about a place with no credibility. Deadspin. And then you got Alex Reamer on Forbes.com writing about this.
I'm trying to work there, by the way. They're hiring new staff, Deadspin.
Well, are they?
Yeah.
You'd fit right in. No brain, just show up and spew some left-wing nonsense. That's the job. But can you explain to me where the evidence is that these guys are white supremacists or Nazis or Klansmen or whatever they've been labeled by the usual suspects? Because I've been
Okay, I love that your followers can't read, which is not surprising to me.
Talking about
the headline of my piece was Justin Rohrwasser's tattoos deserve scrutiny, but calling him racist is wrong as well. So I never called him racist. I was actually arguing against those who did. So all your followers fucking suck. They're knuckle draggers. They're morons. They can't read, which is not surprising.
We didn't tweet out your article. You did it.
I did. I tweeted it.
Oh, you did? But the crap that I got from the GCP people about my headline was
But
stupid because I actually
you were
agree
used to this. I thought you were comfortable with this kind of hate. You're good at,
I
handling.
am, but they're dumb, and they get dumber by the day. People saying that I wasn't including examples of Justin Rohrwasser liking tweets from nutcases like Candace Owens and Dinesh D'Souza. I did. I put in hyperlinks to screenshots. You just click on the hyperlink and it works.
Right.
It's very
This is
simple.
the guy, as I tweeted, there's a guy who voted for Bernie Sanders,
Yes.
and he calls Candace Owens and Jordan Peterson extremists. I mean,
Candace Owens, who thinks, Hitler did some pretty decent things as long as he kept it in Germany. Yes, that Candace Owens.
that's
yes.
not what she said. You don't have to lie. You can just stick to the facts here.
What did she say about Hitler then? She was a little. His problem was he got a little overexpansive.
Yes.
Hitler.
A little aggressive. I think she compared him to Obama, but whatever. We could do Candace Owens another day. I want to do Justin Rohrwasser because I'm serious. I'm not defending him. I'm asking, where is the evidence? And God knows Cullinane was on this yesterday doing his 3%er research, trying to get a 3%er. Any chance one of them calls in this morning on these 3%ers?
They're a tough one to crack, those 3%.
Why?
A little paranoid.
How do you get?
I reached out to a minimum of 30
Do they have a press office?
They do not have a press office. I think I actually had a conversation with the leader of the group from a national level, and he was just pissed that I was even reaching out to him to have this conversation.
And they say they have a Massachusetts chapter, but we can't find it. But hey, Reamer, you've done your research, you've Googled, so have you, Cullinane. Where's the evidence that they're white supremacists, other than Jamel Hill's contention or Deadspin's contention? Where do you find that? I'm looking for it. Show me.
I don't think they're white supremacists. No, I don't think they are. I think
So
that's
why
wrong.
should the kid be the kid? Why should Rohrwasser be this crying mess begging for mercy? He thinks it's a cool looking tattoo. Their mission is defend the Second Amendment, the support limited government. They salute the revolutionaries from 240 years ago. What's to be ashamed of? I'm just asking. Maybe I'm missing it. I probably am missing it. They totally denounced the ones who incited the violence at Charlottesville. They weren't supportive,
but they were there. They were there providing
lots of people.
security.
So Antifa was there too.
No.
And Black Lives Matter was there.
Right.
Lots of people were there. That's why it exploded. But they were there, to do what lots of people were there for, to protest the removal of the statue. Antifa and they were there to support the removal of the statue. They weren't, arm in arms with the Nazis. Just the opposite.
Well, Jerry, they were there providing armed security, and then when the violence happened, they retroactively released a statement saying, "Oh, we separate ourselves from neo-Nazism." But this is a group that, look, any of these right-wing militia groups, right? These don't tread on me kind of groups.
Yeah, that's another thing. We'll get to that. Don't tread on me. I first learned that was, a symbol of white supremacists from you. Well, don't tread on me. Or
and I hyperlinked to a New Yorker article, which explains why.
See, I'm not going to listen to anybody. Here's why Deadspin's a joke. The Boston Globe obviously is a joke. They got a story today. They forced me to clear my history on my computer so I could read it. I get to read 2 stories a month, I believe it is. So I read it, and it got nothing. It's just Southern Poverty Law Center. If your story begins with the Southern Poverty Law Center, then you are lazy. You are lazy or stupid. Okay. They're not credible. We went over this yesterday. They're a scam operation. They have a $500 million endowment. They have hundreds of millions of dollars stashed in offshore accounts. They scam rich white liberals is what they do. And they label everybody an extremist. I'll bet you the Callahan podcast is on their list. They have over 1,000 hate groups. They include Ben Carson as an extremist. The Family Research
definitely
Council.
is. Ben Carson definitely
is dangerous.
Well, didn't he say then we just have to pray away the coronavirus? Like we don't have enough prayer.
That's dangerous, but they're a joke. Southern Poverty Law Center is not.
I think that is dangerous. If you think that prayer will solve the coronavirus, yes, that is a dangerous belief.
So you have no answer for me. You, crazy Alex Reamer, the only extremist I really know, or the only extremist I like, the crazy commie. You don't have an example of why this group, the 3%ers, is actually white supremacists.
No, I do.
You do.
Well, I mean, no. Again, I'm the wrong person. I never said that he is a white supremacist. I think he got a stupid tattoo as a kid, but here's why it's a stupid tattoo.
He's got a lot of stupid tattoos.
Yep. But
have you seen the NFL draft or NBA draft or baseball now? Most of these guys have stupid tattoos. I mean,
have you seen my chest? I have a shamrock on my chest.
Watch Tiger King. Everybody's got stupid tattoos now. Everyone's got, these. Most of them probably regret them too.
Yeah, Aaron Hernandez had some nice tattoos as well.
No, but Mike Freeman told me not to judge a man based on his tattoos.
I know. Well, that's a little. It's of course it's ridiculous. But look, the 3%ers, any of these right-wing militia groups, right? That's what they call themselves. One of these anti-government groups. They have their own guns. They're protecting their land. Do you know any of these groups that propped up in 2008 after Barack Obama was elected? I wonder why. Why did we see
Because Barack Obama's the most radical president we've ever had.
Right. And what else?
The most radical left-wing president we've ever had.
And what else is he? Do you think it's a coincidence, Jerry, that after we elected our first ever black president, we saw this unprecedented rise in these right-wing militia groups? Of course, it's not a coincidence.
No, I think it's understandable. He's a radical left-winger. He's a radical who promised to transform the country. That's what he promised to do, and God damn it, he tried.
Yes, but transform the country by putting a black man in the White House, and they had a problem.
Only you obsessed with race. That's why you assume somebody who is a right-winger, a gun guy, a Second Amendment guy. You just assume, you extrapolate and say he must be racist. I mean, there's lots of black guys who support the Second Amendment, who bear arms, who carry a gun down south. That's the way it works. But anyway, so you have no evidence. I have no evidence. It's just convenient. And this kid, again, I keep calling him a kid. This man, 23-year-old man, is forced to take a cheese grater and remove this tattoo, in my opinion, to make the media happy, because he doesn't want to be a distraction. He doesn't really, have all these regrets. He doesn't really think it's a shameful thing, because he doesn't think the 3%ers are all that, dangerous or ugly.
Well, they are. I mean, the governor of Oregon vacated the Capitol because they were coming to provide armed security for the Republican senators, and they left the Capitol because they didn't like a vote. They've provided security for Richard Spencer. They were at Charlottesville, as we mentioned. This is
totally denounced everything I've seen, everything I can find. Totally denounced the Nazis, the white supremacists, the Klan.
They're providing security.
Yeah, again, so is Antifa. If this guy was in Antifa, you would like that. You'd say, "Oh, that's good."
But they protested in Muslim resettlements in Idaho. So members of this group.
Again, I read all about this. Tell me what is wrong with that. They disagree with it.
Because
they disagree with it. Jerry, why don't we have that Muslim resettlement in Nantucket? Then your people would disagree with it. That's why. I mean, they're people. Of course,
Just don't bring any sort of resettlement to Provincetown. That's what I have to say. But
Provincetown is a beautiful, piece of land. Why don't we resettle the Somali refugees?
Sure,
20,000 strong in P-Town. See what you would think. It has nothing to do with, their race. It's just disrupting, and it's also the NIMBY factor, where these politicians would never ever do it in their backyard, but they'll do it to them anyway. I read about that too. There's nothing over the top that I can find. And obviously, you can't either. But they just say, it becomes this little, trend among the usual suspects: the Globe, Deadspin, Jamel Hill. Oh, he's a white supremacist. It's just so unfair, and it's just so it's just such a double standard. I mean, Jason Whitlock, who can be great because he goes against the mob. He looks at things differently, holds it up to the light and looks at it differently, and isn't afraid to go against the mob. Whitlock pointed out that these same people, he flipped it on its head, and he said these same people, Jamel Hill, Mike Freeman, worship Colin Kaepernick, who protests the U.S. government.
Right.
What the 3%ers do is protest the U.S. government. They, don't like restrictions on guns. They don't like property rights, encroachment, whatever, the resettlement of certain people in certain places. They're against certain things the government does. Oh, I don't know, much like Colin Kaepernick. So
yeah, but they don't.
salute.
But Colin Kaepernick didn't kneel with an AK-47 in his hand.
So what? That just means you're against guns. These people.
That's the issue, Jerry. When you start marching around with your own armed weaponry and acting like a militia, then that is scary. Colin Kaepernick has never talked about violent overthrow or
rights.
anything. I mean,
supporting gun rights.
I mean, on this very group on its website says that they are modern day revolutionaries fighting against a tyrannical U.S. government.
Okay, you have no examples of a shot they've taken. They don't. They bear arms.
They do. One of their members in 2019 was sentenced to 15 years in prison for shooting at counter protesters to protect Richard Spencer, avowed white supremacist.
Was it an Antifa guy? Did they shoot an Antifa guy?
Tenbrink, right here.
And I'll bet you the organizers, the leaders denounced this, correct?
I have no idea what they did and didn't denounce. I just know that a member protected Richard Spencer. I also know that, Jerry, again, you heard the words, right-wing militia group. What do you think? Honestly.
I think good red-blooded Americans.
Okay, I mean,
what are you going to get? Just the word right-wing, you think that demonizes somebody? In my opinion, are you out of your mind?
No. When it's followed by militia, yes, I think you are a person.
The guy who voted for Bernie Sanders doesn't like those crazy extremists. I love it, but you know what? It's the world we live in. There's a lot of dumb people just falling in line online, on Twitter, on whatever, Facebook, who just say, "Oh, tattoo. Let's see what Jamel Hill says. Let's see what Deadspin says." And they say, "Oh, Patriots have a white supremacist." It's ludicrous. And then you have the Lisa Guerrero factor, who worked for the Patriots, 25 years ago. I explained this yesterday. If you missed it, she was a friend of mine, and she had a different name. She was Hugh Millen's girlfriend. Her name was Lisa Coles. She was the head of the cheerleaders. She worked for 3 different owners. She did not work long for the Crafts. They got rid of her. She sued for discrimination because she's Hispanic. That was news to me. I hung out with her a few times. She was drop dead gorgeous. She was not, no one thought she was Hispanic because her name was Coles at the time. And she was Hugh Millen's girlfriend, and no one thought, she was a minority hire. Of course, they didn't discriminate her based on race. They didn't know what a race was. But she said they didn't want to play rap music, and they wanted the cheerleaders in skippy outfits. So those are supposed to be. Those are the charges, the serious charges against the Crafts. It's ludicrous.
And that dirty old man, Bob Kraft, got his way, didn't he, Jerry?
Yes, he did. And she, by the way, she was tweeting about the arrest for Kraft at the massage parlor too. She just hates the Crafts because they got rid of her, and I understand that's fine. But she says she's writing a book. Cullinane talked to her. She's going to come on, when the book comes out, and tell us all about how racist the Crafts are. It's laughable. It's just someone who's bitter, who wants to lash out at the team that got rid of her. I understand, but I don't think anyone's going to take her seriously. I really don't.
But what do you expect Rohrwasser? I keep having trouble saying the last name, but what do you expect him to do in this situation when the mob comes after you? And the reality is he probably is just a Second Amendment guy, limited government guy.
No.
What do you expect him to do? He's just going to, at least they gave him a puff guy to interview him. At least they gave, what's his name, Burton there to help him.
We should play him at the end of the interview when he's crying, but I think he could have, Turtle Boy wants him to say, "Screw you," and not give an inch. That, to me, for a 23-year-old who's just trying to make it in the NFL, that introduces a lot of baggage, a lot of distractions that he doesn't need. So he doesn't want to debate, the Second Amendment with whoever, with Mike Freeman or with Ben Volen. He doesn't want to do that. He wants it to go away. I think he could have said, I just think it's a cool looking thing. I like that it's a different version of the flag. I support the Second Amendment. I'm moving on. He didn't have to be that, contrite, where he's literally crying and saying, "I promise I'll have it removed." He's only doing that for the media. Do we really think he's doing that because he has some great regrets?
No, he never covered it up, prior to this. And, I also look, it's not just his tattoo. It's the fact that he is a devout follower of Jordan Peterson and Dinesh D'Souza and all these nutcases.
So am I.
Right, and you're a nutcase. So what do you?
A devout follower of Jordan Peterson who wants men to take responsibility. I have his book right here.
Oh God,
It's not great. He's an interesting guy. He's an interesting interview. Not the best writer. I don't find it an easy read, even though it's sold like 3 million copies. But I find Dinesh D'Souza an interesting provocateur. I haven't seen his movie.
Wild conspiracy theorist.
Yes, that's your people. You love those people. Anyway, so what you're saying, Alex, is he's a right winger. I know you.
No, he's not. No,
yes,
he's not reading George Will. That's fine with me, Jerry.
Nobody's reading George Will. Wait till you find out if he reads Ann Coulter. Then you're really going to lose it.
Then I will have a big problem.
So my answer to that, Cullinane, would be to say that, I think it looked cool. Their symbol that looks cool, and I support the Second Amendment. Okay. And then if they start with the Southern Poverty Law Center, you say, go screw. You're just trying to trap me. You know that's a joke of an organization. You know they have no credibility. Leave me alone. But then, he doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to.
It's not happening. He's a kid. It was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. He goes on Twitter and just sees Jamel Hill starting, sending a mob after him. He just gets buried, and now all of a sudden he has to deal with it with his family, and he's 23 years old. Like, what do we expect him to do in this situation? I expect him to do exactly what he just did with Steve Burton.
Well, I don't know. You expect him to take the cheese grater and actually scrape the thing off?
Can you hear me or no?
Yeah. What? And I think you should broadcast it live and donate all proceeds to the ACLU.
Yeah, a nice mainstream organization like the ACLU. But here's the thing: when you're a Patriot, hell, when you're any, NFL rookie, all you're thinking about is you're a 5th round pick. Or you want to make the team. You want to make some money. You want to have an NFL career. The last thing you're thinking about is having a political, discussion, debate. Now, and you're at the disadvantage if you're a right winger. If you're a left winger, if you show up and you got Antifa tattoos or Black Lives Matter and you support Colin Kaepernick, you're good. You're good. The media will literally, not literally, they will throw rose petals at your feet. They will carry you on their shoulders. They are looking for guys like that. They love guys like that. That's real courage.
Yes.
But to come to New England and look at the Boston Globe reporter and say, yeah, I support the Second Amendment, that takes balls. Here's after the video was posted, this was last night, of Rohrwasser crying to Steve Burton. Mm-hmm. And let's be honest, I mean, if he really was 18, he was a dumb kid. If he says, I just thought it looked cool, I mean, as opposed to I wanted to support that organization, don't you buy it if you're a kid, you're an 18-year-old football player and you want to look cool, you want to look tough? Don't you think a lot of them get tattoos that have really no meaning? They just think they look cool?
But again, though, but that's my thing, and that's like the Jerry Thornton argument. This is not a meaningless tattoo because he also has "Don't Tread on Me." He also has "Free or Die."
Liberty or Death.
Tattoos. Liberty or Death. Right. Again,
honestly, that's stupid.
He's following these hardcore conspiracy theory alt-right people.
How is Liberty or Death a right-wing alt-right conspiracy?
Jerry, again, if you were to meet someone on the
street,
say
it again. You keep saying it again.
Let's use our thinking skills. If you met somebody on the street and they had tattoos, Liberty or Death, Don't Tread on Me.
I'd say my kind of guy.
Okay, right. So
I wouldn't understand what the 3%er was unless I Googled it.
So this means to me somebody who is getting a cool tattoo. He obviously believes in these. He's a crazy right winger, which is fine. But I mean, it's called what it is.
I think I would assume. See, I thought when he went to Marshall, I assumed he was, a redneck. I thought he was from down south, the gun guy. I can't believe he's from New York and went to Rhode Island, went to URI. That surprised me.
Well, he's from upstate New York.
Right, upstate New York.
A little different. It's like
that's New York. It's New York. He's from the north.
That's
God's he's not from the south. Anyway, before you say again, I believe that he was an 18-year-old knucklehead. He wasn't an activist. I'll bet he wasn't all that well read on the topic. I believe a lot of it he thinks it makes him look like a badass. Isn't that why most 18-year-olds get tattoos? They don't always have a lot of meaning. A lot of them are just cool looking dumb things. Would you rather have a tattoo of Kobe Bryant and his daughter on his leg? Talk about an idiotic tattoo. To get Kobe Bryant's whole face on your leg.
Why paying tribute?
Right, sure. Anyway,
but also, who gives a shit? Like, does he have a criminal record?
That's a good question.
Do any of his football teammates, have they said anything negative about him? The coach came out from URI yesterday. He had nothing but positive things to say about the kid.
His teammates, including his black teammates.
Even if he does believe in some of this shit that Candace Owens says or whoever, who gives a shit? Like, it's not impacting anyone else's life.
You see, it goes back to the old expression, like, conservatives think liberals are wrong. Liberals think conservatives are evil. So when you have a Jamel Hill or a Mike Freeman or an Alex Reamer and a guy who supports the Second Amendment or, supports or reads Jordan Peterson, they say, he's not wrong. He's evil. That's what the way
you're right. Yeah, conservatives don't think that Democrats are evil, right?
Some of them are. You are, but no, not all of them.
How about like George Soros, Hillary Clinton?
They're evil. You're right.
That they've received.
Yeah, you're right. But there's no such thing as a liberal. Like, if a liberal were in my position, he would never have you on to they would say, "Oh no, get away,
I would have you on my show, Jerry."
Yeah, well, you're rare. And here's Ben Volen this morning from the Boston Globe. Now, he watched the video of the audio and the video of Rohrwasser on with Steve Burton explaining that, quote, "that's not who I am," and crying and promising to remove the tattoo. And in typical Globe fashion, he writes, "Not sure I totally believe some of his explanations here, but the Patriots' new kicker is clearly shaken and says he'll get the tattoo removed." What don't you believe if you're Ben Volen or whoever? I mean, I know Jamel Hill and Mike Freeman don't believe him either. But you don't believe that he was 18, he thinks he was stupid, and he just, thought it was a cool looking flag. You don't believe that. You believe this 18-year-old meathead was invested in the 3%ers or invested in the alt-right movement. Is that really what you believe?
I mean, so he gave a presentation about Jordan Peterson last year, who is a leader of the alt-right. I'm just saying, so obviously this is the kind of stuff he thinks now. As I also wrote, I'm a humanitarian. I think he can change, Jerry. I think this season, if there is a season,
I don't think he has to change. I think he could still like Jordan Peterson.
He'll spend some quality time with Devin McCourty, and he'll get educated.
Right. Devin McCourty is not radical at all. Supports Colin Kaepernick and social justice and all the left-wing causes. But that's cool. That's cool. The guy who supports, limited government and the Second Amendment. That's insane.
With guns.
He read Jordan Peterson.
Jerry, that's the issue I have and a lot of people have with guns. These far-right militia groups.
They want
to go to war with guns.
Have you gone south of P-Town in your life? Have you ever gone to South Carolina, West Virginia, where he went to college?
I've been to South Beach.
That's I'm not sure that's the same as the South Beach, but lots of people down south have guns, who love their guns, who carry their guns, who have racks on their trucks. That's America, brother. I'm sorry. I'm not a gun guy either, as far as you know.
As far as I know, right?
I just want to leave a little mystery out there. I might be strapping. You never know.
It's very dangerous. I mean,
I got that
he's also liking coronavirus conspiracy tweets. I mean, he obviously is fed a toxic news diet, and I look forward to re-educating
see who he retweets. Are we going to go see who he retweets now? Oh, God.
It just shows what his habits are.
He's just a kicker too, man. Just a kicker. I wish him luck. I look forward to seeing that massive, disgusting scar on his forearm when he takes the razor and just rips his own flesh off to make you people happy, which is going to be a sad day in hell. He's going to rip his own flesh off to make Ben Volen and Jamel Hill and Alex Reamer happy.
Again, I was defending him. I think it's wrong to call him a racist.
But he read Jordan Peterson's book.
Well, that's an issue, and hopefully
it is not an issue. Okay, I'm gonna get it. I got it right here. Let me go grab Jordan Peterson's
You're gonna do a live reading on the air.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna grab it.
God, get Jerry's home office. There's conspiracy theories, by the way, that Jerry is hiding out in Maine. Not.
I have seen that on Twitter. I can confirm based on the video that he is not.
Do we have the? I want a dramatic reading.
I'm holding Jordan Peterson's book up to the camera. 12. What is it? 12 Rules of Life.
Yeah.
Sold like 10 zillion copies. I gotta say, I bought it in hardcover. You know, I said there must be something to it. Where's my bookmark? Didn't make it through. It's a struggle. It was. Oh, there it is. Like halfway through, 110 pages in. It's not an easy breezy read, but it's all rules of life, and it stresses how men have to take responsibility and not be ashamed of masculinity and things like that. Nothing radical, nothing extremist. It's ridiculous. You haven't read it, correct?
I know Jordan. I haven't read his work, but I
did seen him interviewed. He's perfectly, he's kind of mellow and he's weird.
Interviewed. He sounds interminable.
An antidote to chaos. The most influential public intellectual in the Western world. New York Times. New York Times says the most influential public intellectual. But a kid, a college kid reads this. And you want to have him hiding under the desk and apologizing for it. It's just absurd. I'm sick of you people.
It's also reading Dinesh D'Souza. It's not just any of the stuff in a vacuum.
That's what's wrong with that. I mean, he's a right winger. He's a
not
right winger. That's all. He's a right winger.
How many people does he think Hillary killed? Dinesh D'Souza?
You don't like him. You don't like him because he's a man of color. Be honest. You just don't like Dinesh D'Souza because he's. There's another reason you don't like him. There's another reason, Reamer. I don't know what it is. What could it be? Could it be? I know he's a minority. That's why you don't like people. You don't like minorities who don't fall in line. That's the problem. But we'll see how it goes for him. It's going to be weird because who knows even if there's going to be preseason camp. But he will become one of the storylines on this new Patriot team, without anybody, without James Devlin now, and without Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski and everyone else. They're all gone. This young Nuzzi is now the face of the franchise. It would be great if he showed up and he was like, Ed Norton in American History X. He shows up. He's got neck tats and all these symbols, and everyone's Googling and saying, "Oh my God, what is he?" Just to give us something to talk about, but. I'll be curious to see just how fair the Boston Globe is with him, just how fair they are when he rips his flesh off and apologizes again when he shows up.
What's interesting is in the Globe today, Tuesday, no op-ed yet on Rohrwasser.
No, there's a terrible story. I just, like I said, clicked on it. It's got nothing, just the usual garbage of Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, I thought that was an informative piece. That's where I did a lot of my research for the show today.
Terrible
that probably
piece.
Wouldn't be a opinion piece by like a Shaughnessy too. That would be like a Renee Graham piece.
Right. Oh, it will be. It will be. One of them is all ready to go. You're right. I'm surprised there wasn't one. But the Washington Post has the story about the 3%ers, and there's nothing in there that's, to me, objectionable. Again, they denounced the Nazis and the Klansmen and the white supremacists completely, thoroughly. They want no part of them. They like their guns and they love their limited government, but nothing in there pertains to race. So
they just happened to decide it was important to fight against a tyrannical government when the black guy got elected president. I like that. So
sure,
there you go.
Whatever. It's about the black guy is the most radical president we've ever had. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. Do you think they would have been any different if Hillary Clinton were president?
Did Barack Obama ever tell Americans to inject bleach?
No, and neither did Donald Trump. If you want to do that, we can do that. I mean, honestly, I say this to you all the time, Reamer. You should pick your spots. There's plenty to criticize the president about, particularly when he speaks for 2 hours a day off the cuff. Plenty there, plenty of material. What he said about disinfecting on the inside and ultraviolet rays was dumb. It was, and here's my prediction. It was dumb. I'm not defending it. It was nonsensical. I watched it and said, "What the hell is he talking about?" He did not tell anyone to inject Lysol or inject disinfectant. He didn't.
You're just wondering if it worked. Maybe
you could say it all you want. He didn't do it, and you know it. But when he spitballs like that and just has this stream of conscious mess, there's generally some truth to it. Here's what he does. You want me to tell you what happened with that? I'll explain it. He's been in all these meetings. I don't know if you're aware of this, but he's the hardest working president we've ever had.
Stays in the
as he's bragging about the hardest working president we've ever had. So he's in these meetings with, Birx and Fauci and who knows how many other medical people and other aides. And they're talking about everything. And they've got reports from everywhere and, research papers and, different proposals from doctors and scientists. And it all kind of blends together in his mind. So they, at one point, were talking about disinfecting everything. Let's disinfect the schools and spray disinfectant on this and spray disinfectant on the subways. And then 5 minutes later, we're talking about possible injections that you can get.
Got it mixed up.
And it just blends together. It reminds me of when he first accused the Obama administration of wiretapping his campaign, which turned out to be 100% true. But it was just this weird stream of consciousness thing about him, wiretapping him. There was truth to it, but he was laughed at because it sounded outrageous at the time. This was dumb. I'm not saying that there's anything to injecting disinfectant. Of course not.
Why? Maybe it's the question worth asking. Don't you think, Doctor?
Here's what happened. He got it all mixed up in his mind because his mind, as we see, is going a mile a minute. It's top priority is always the same. Does he get credit? That's his priority no matter what. Does he get credit? And it gets ugly and stupid when he talks about the ratings of his press conferences and how much he's done more than other administrations. And believe me, I'm not proud of these performances. They should be 20 minutes, half hour long. They're 2 hours long, and it's just an ego trip. And I don't think anyone who's being honest thinks they're good. They're helpful, particularly not when they get going to the third hour. But he didn't say everyone should go out there and take Lysol and inject it into their veins. He did not say that.
Well,
yesterday,
asking it. Maybe sunlight too. How do you inject sunlight into your
I believe that. You know what? He's going to be right about that. He talked about sunlight weeks ago. He's right about that. There's no evidence of transferring the virus outdoors. None. Well, it is everyone should be outside as much as possible. The idea that you should stay at home locked away and not out in the sunlight is ridiculous unless you want to get sick. It's stupid. Or unless you want to lose your mind. Going outside is good on so many levels. Physically, mentally, everyone should be outside now that spring is here, getting some sun, getting some exercise, clearing their heads. The idea that's going to go down. And I do believe 6 months, a year, 10 years from now, we're going to look back on this lockdown as one of the dumbest things the U.S. government has ever ordered its citizens to do. And these Democrat governors and Democrat mayors are going to be the villains. I mean, de Blasio will be the face of this. The guy who told people to go out and go to restaurants and go to parades. That guy.
He wants to outdoor a parade for the first responders.
That's right. The ticker tape parade. Let's do it next week, you idiot. I mean, and yesterday, once again, he was caught breaking his own rules, driving 11 miles to go for a walk with his wife, and some beautiful citizen journalists tracked him down and chased him around. Those are the only good journalists we got now. Is these
Nobody
people.
likes de Blasio. Republicans hate him, obviously, and Democrats hate him too.
I hate Cuomo now too. I liked him for a little while. He was good. He is so full of shit. He has blood on his hands more than Trump, more than anybody. He forced coronavirus patients into nursing homes. He has a number of deaths on his hands, and he's going to be the last to open up because he loves being the leader of the lockdown. He loves it, and he thinks it's his ticket to the White House, and maybe it is.
It might be. You know what? His argument last week for McConnell, who said the state should go bankrupt, and Cuomo goes, "Okay, let's start with your poor southern states." Like that was the best rebuttal that anybody could give. That
took guts, political courage for Mitch McConnell to say that, because that's what they should do.
Okay, can you start with Kentucky, which takes the fourth most money from the federal government?
How big is their debt?
I don't know off the top of my head.
New York is what, 20 billion?
New York.
No,
New York puts in more than they take out.
That's why they are spending so much, because they are expecting the federal government to bail them out. The federal government should not. They should definitely force them to go bankrupt. We should not be covering the debts. I didn't elect Andrew Cuomo. I shouldn't have to pay for his mistakes. But anyway, yesterday, I got to say, proud of my guy, Donald J. Trump. Proud and surprised. I watch these press conferences every day, and I cringe. They are cringy. They are a little uncomfortable when he just starts talking about how great. how he's the best president ever, and no one's done this, and no one in the world has done as well as he has. And he wants credit. He's the hardest working guy. It gets tedious. It gets uncomfortable. But yesterday he was asked the most hostile question he's ever been asked in this setting, including from that idiot from Playboy. He lets him ask a question all the time. He doesn't always answer it.
He likes Playboy Trump.
It could be. Why? Maybe he thinks that way. That's the guy from Playboy. Playboy, which as far as I know, doesn't even exist. And this guy gets to ask a question.
It's basically like Rolling Stone now. It's a very left-wing publication.
Right. Well, what isn't? They're all left-wing publications. GQ, Esquire, Vanity Fair, they're all in it for the same reason, including New York Magazine, which didn't used to be this left-wing political hit magazine like way it is now. But this woman, Olivia Nuzzi.
Nuzzi, yes.
Nuzzi, do I have that right? Olivia Nuzzi.
She's an A-lister. She's been around for years now. You know her.
Yeah, she was in the back row, where she belongs. She's a blonde. At least today she's a blonde, which means Trump called on her. And you could, do you see him call on the Asian woman who tried to ask about a question about Kim Jong-un?
Mm-hmm.
And she said her English wasn't great. And she said, somebody said something on Saturday. And Trump just dismissed her and said, Saturday? No one heard from Kim Jong-un Saturday. He wasn't around Saturday. We don't even know where he is. Next question. And the woman just went, I didn't get to my question. But she wasn't attractive enough for Trump. He likes the hot ones. That's why he brought back, what's her name? The hot Holly, the hot aide. She just came back. Holly Hicks. Hope Hicks. I'm sorry. Hope Hicks. She's back.
No one really knows what she does.
No, she looks good. That's what she does, Raymer. Anyway, Olivia Nuzzi asks a question, and we've probably already read about it on Twitter, and she was fighting with people on Twitter last night. As someone said, after 3 Appletinis, she went on the attack, and she went after all these people who are criticizing her. But you tell me, you defend the tone of this question. Can we hear it, Dave?
If an American president loses more Americans over the course of 6 weeks than died in the entirety of the Vietnam War, does he deserve to be reelected?
So, if an American president loses more people in 6 weeks than the entirety of the Vietnam War, I mean, that is obviously for effect. That's obviously not looking. She's not looking for an answer, a discussion, a thoughtful answer. She's looking to poke the bear, right? She's looking to piss off the big bad orange man. And I thought she was going to. Obviously, it's a hostile question from just an asshole of a reporter.
Yeah, she's an asshole.
I mean, do you think do you find that appropriate?
What? Yes, I think what's not appropriate about, and by the way, Trump, who gets angry at reporters all the time, didn't get angry at that one.
That's my point. I couldn't believe it. I said, here we go.
Fair question.
I thought he might leave because someday he still has that in his arsenal. He never wants to leave. He always thinks he can, beat them.
Like pull a Brady, just walk away.
And just say, okay, enough. Because he thought about canceling. In fact, he did cancel the press conference. Then it was on, then it was off, then it was on.
Well, then he got nervous about not being on TV. So
I know. I thought she was going to get to him. She didn't, which I couldn't believe. I mean, first of all, again, Reamer, 2.8 million people die in this country every year. Do they all die? Does that mean the president lost them all? Do the people who died in the last 6 weeks of cancer and the people who died of suicide, did he lose them all? Why did he lose the people who died of coronavirus?
Because this could have been preventable. That's the thing.
We've gone over this 100 times. He was well ahead of the curve compared to the Democrats, compared to Pelosi and Schumer and the media and CNN. I mean, he was well ahead of the curve. You cannot say. Can I just read you
the latest from the Washington Post? U.S. intelligence agencies issued warnings about the coronavirus in more than a dozen classified briefings in January and February.
And Richard Grenell immediately said, fake news, not true. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's in the Washington Post, so chances are it's made up. Anyway,
I trust.
Anyway, you think he was late? Everybody was a little late, but he was not nearly as late as he points out every freaking day. He shut down flights from Asia. He shut down flights from Europe when there was, like one dead person in the country of 15 cases. I mean, it's the idea that he could have shut down the country sooner is ludicrous. But anyway, people die. They're going to die. They're going to die from this. I mean, what if it were, 20,000, would you say he's done a good job, or 10,000?
I
Would
mean,
you say, boy, he's done a good job? It's 50,000. Almost all of them in nursing, or more than half of them in nursing homes. Most of them with underlying conditions. Most of them elderly or obese. I mean, we know now much, much more about this than we knew then. But is that fair to say that the president lost these people?
Yes, because we were budget in the world, and we're left utterly defenseless against a virus. Yes, we were woefully
not
unprepared.
utterly defenseless. No.
Trump totally was late to this. He was calling Alex Azar alarmist in late January when he brought this up on the phone. That Dr. Nancy Messonnier, I keep going back to her, in late February, she told us expect severe disruptions to your everyday life. Trump then wanted her fired after that.
Quick question, Mr. Reamer.
Yes.
What should he have done?
What should he have done? We should have instituted a lockdown.
Okay,
earlier.
hold on. Sooner?
Yes.
So you'd say like March 1st.
Should have gotten ahead of. Well, we found out today, or a couple of days ago, that there could have been as many as 28,000 cases in 6 major cities March 1st.
March 1st.
It was
already. How many Americans had died of this? March 1st.
That we know of, Jerry. That we know of.
Right. So you were supposed to do something about something that you didn't know of? I mean, that's
because we were behind. We were behind. Okay. We eliminated the office.
Not behind.
We were behind. We eliminated the office of the National Security Council.
Okay, did not. We've gone through that already. What are you going to tell me? He called it a hoax now? We've gone through that. That has been debunked. He has not.
Go away come the spring, Jerry. He consistently downplayed this and was wrong about this and was late.
Not true. But anyway, there was one dead on March 1st. You wanted to lock down the country. There were like 15 cases. You wanted to shut down the most powerful economy in the world with one dead person. I mean, it's laughable. Anyway, she was vilified, this Olivia Nuzzi on Twitter, and she was fighting back and telling people, fuck off and everything else. It was a good, rare moment of discipline on his part because it made her look foolish. The question was ridiculous. The president didn't lose 50,000 people. I mean, the country did. But I'm telling you, there's things that people are going to learn that are going to just frighten them. This is going to get more coverage in the coming days. There was this guy, Dr. Scott Atlas, I believe from Stanford. He's done some interviews, done some writing. He said something last night, and I forget where I saw him, Tucker or one of the shows. I couldn't believe it. We know now that the hospitals are not overwhelmed. That's why we should open up the country today, that we shut down the country so that the hospitals would not be overwhelmed. They are not even close. Hospitals are laying people off, furloughing people because they don't have a lot of business. People are staying away. People are afraid. This guy said half the people in the last month or 6 weeks, half the cancer patients have skipped their chemo appointments. Half in the country. Those people are going to die. Not all of them, but some of them, because they are skipping their chemo appointments. He said 80% of brain surgeries have been postponed. 80%. I mean, I understand. It sounds bad, brain surgery, but I guess some of them are elective or not emergencies, so you wait. Fortunately, my girl, Britt McHenry, got hers done in time. She had brain surgery and she's doing well. But it is amazing to me what's happening at the hospitals. It's not getting a lot of coverage because the media was so wrong about this. The models were so wrong. The heroes, Birx and Fauci, were so wrong that hospitals are now paying the price. We thought they would be overwhelmed. They're A, laying people off, and B, doing TikTok videos and doing the Macarena.
Jerry, you got to be kidding me. I mean,
well, I'm sorry to give you all those facts. I'm sorry to give you facts.
So we go to Boston Medical Center and see if nurses are doing the Macarena. I mean, really,
I don't have
Jerry?
to. They're on Twitter. No, they're on,
well,
TikTok.
And I think, sometimes they celebrate when patients can take off ventilators. And the reason why our healthcare system has not been completely overwhelmed is because of these social distancing measures that we put in place. I mean,
the models included that, so they were wrong.
They didn't.
The models included social distancing. Yes, they did. They were wrong. That's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. There's a ship in New York Harbor that holds 2,000 people, 2,000 patients. It's empty. That was stupid. That was overwhelmed. That was wrong, inaccurate. They were wrong about it. These hospitals are not overwhelmed. That is a good thing. There's not as many people using beds, using ventilators as we thought. We have too many ventilators, too many beds. That's a good thing. But it is devastating the hospitals. I mean, do you care about those nurses at Boston Medical when they get laid off?
No, I mean,
or do you just care when you hear about how heroic they are? They're heroic. Lots of them are losing their jobs or being laid off because these hospitals are not doing anything but catering to coronavirus patients.
Well, I think we need to ask ourselves. I mean, here's the biggest thing that everybody says: in order to reopen the economy, we need more testing, and we still don't have it, Jerry. That is the biggest.
What you're doing now? Again, you went from beds to ventilators, and now it's testing.
Jerry, again, everybody who has studied this for their entire careers, professional epidemiologists, I listen to them. I don't listen to these right-wing quacks who can't even spell epidemiology.
Hey, dude, I just gave you Dr. Scott Atlas from Stanford, I believe. Does he matter? Does Dr. Scott Atlas?
What does he say about tests?
Dr. Scott Atlas said people are skipping their kids' vaccines, and he thought that was scary.
We're talking about
two different arguments. Skipping vaccines because they don't want to go near the hospital because they've been scared to death about going to see a doctor. I mean, these are problems that we're going to have bigger problems, and they're not going to be confined to the elderly and the obese. They're going to be kids without vaccines because they're so scared to go near a doctor, near a hospital. That stuff is scary.
There. And hold on, and the numbers that I cited earlier actually helped this argument that you disputed. So we found out that I think Northeastern University had a model that said that they estimated that by March 1st, there were 28,000 coronavirus cases in like Boston, New York, LA, 6 major metropolitan areas. And we didn't even really notice it. What that tells me, Jerry, is that, viruses are everywhere. And eventually we're going to have to get to the point where we say, to quote Trump, the cure here cannot be worse than the disease, from the standpoint that the virus is out there. I think the death rate for this thing is much, much lower than we originally anticipated. Right. More of half of the fatalities in Massachusetts came in nursing homes. So I think what we have to do is we have to say, at one point, we got to move on and say, protect the vulnerable, protect the elderly, make sure we have the testing in place, and start to you can't spend your entire life sheltering in place until there's a vaccine.
You listen to the doctor. Did you listen to Dr. Erickson, the doctor who from California, who put out this video? It's only a couple minutes long about how we're overreacting, that this is insane that we're locking down. 2 doctors did this press conference. It was eye-opening, saying that they literally don't wear masks because they want to build up immunities.
Good thing they don't live in Somerville. They'd have to pay those fines.
I know they'd be in trouble. But anyway, the guy was very articulate. He was I believe he was on Laura Ingraham. He's made the rounds. YouTube took it down. This is the country we live in now. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they will not allow anybody, any voice of dissent. This guy's literally questioning the stay-at-home lockdown orders. A doctor, a brilliant man, if you hear it. I'm not sure you can find it now, but hopefully it'll be back up there at some point. So do you listen to that doctor, or you just listen to Fauci? I mean,
well, I will say, there's even Dr. David Katz is a Yale.
Have you listened to him?
I do. Like he published an op-ed in New York Times, and he was on Bill Maher's show Friday, and Maher made the point that it's a shame that you have to go to Fox News to make your argument. I agree.
My man Bill is right again.
Well, have you re-upped your subscription?
No, I watch on Saturday morning on YouTube. There's always some good Bill Maher. I tell you, I said this before. He's like one of the only guys who's handling it okay without his audience, because his audience often annoys him because they're so stupid and they're just lemmings and they just clap. They don't even know you don't even listen. So sometimes he gets annoyed at his audience. So he has no audience. I think he's better, and I think he's been good, even though my man Dan Crenshaw destroyed him last week in a debate. He's been good. The rest of these clowns, the Jimmy Kimmels and Seth Meyers without an audience, Trevor Noah, are just pathetic. But Bill Maher's been good. You're right. To get a voice of dissent, you see these doctors like Dr. Katz, like Dr. Erickson, like Dr. Scott Atlas. You must go to Fox News. They won't put them on CNN. They will not put them on NBC. It is scary, the control they want over the media.
Yeah, that's scary too. And look, I'm at the point where I think social distancing measures absolutely have worked. They should have been put in place. And look, Massachusetts, we're still seeing I don't know what the new number is, but as long as we're still seeing close to 2,000 new cases per day, I don't think we can safely reopen the city of Boston. I agree with that, but we have to start thinking about that. Yeah, viruses are a part of the world, and eventually, unless we stay in our homes until a vaccine is developed, herd immunity seems like that is the way we're going to eventually have to go, while still, again, protecting the vulnerable, protecting the elderly. And, here's the thing too, though, that is, I think I have a lot of troubles with what's going to come up in this country. Like, again, I think low-income people are going to be the most exposed to this as well, though, which is also the problem, right, Jerry? Like, if you are a white-collar person, you can afford to still work from home, even when the quote-unquote economy opens up. But if I'm if I work in a store or something, I can't. I go back on public transportation. My risk is higher.
If tell me how old you are. If you're your age, good. Then you'll get the virus. You'll get through it. You'll be fine. You'll be immune. You can live your life. Good. If you're over 60 or over 300 pounds, you should stay home. You should stay quarantined. If not, go out there and live your life. We're going to get to that point. Trust me on this, Reams. Within weeks, they're going to say, okay, if you're under 60 and under 300 pounds, go for it. Go to work, go to school, go about your life. The idea, and it's changing daily, the idea that you should stay locked away if you're not vulnerable is insane. And if you're reading up, if you're paying attention, you know that. It is time to let the country go back to work. Not the vulnerable, not the elderly. We must protect them like we've never protected them before.
Here's the thing, though, Jerry. See, but when you say that,
there's no reason for you. You're not fat. I mean, you might be a drunk, but you're not fat. You're not vulnerable. I mean, you have some risky behavior. I know that. But
yes,
you should be out there in public hoping you get the virus, because you'll get through it without, you might not even know you have it. And then
maybe I already have that. I don't know. I might. But here's the thing, though. Like, who's going to go back to work? Like, when you reopen the economy this summer, I bet you people in comfortable white collar jobs will still work from home. So you're going to put the poor, who are going to be most exposed to this, which is an issue.
Why? We just went over it. The poor, if they're not vulnerable, will be fine.
But they're underlying health conditions with poverty, right?
So what's your solution? What's your proposal?
That we beef up our healthcare system for everybody. It comes back to the idea of universal quality healthcare.
We'll see how that goes, because there'll be some version of that on the ballot, because hiding Joe Biden is going to come out with some version of that, because he has to get the Bernie bros. Oh yeah, he's on a roll.
His message throughout all this has been unbelievable. He's been everywhere.
It is. I'm telling you, he's hoping this lockdown, just keep it locked down till November and he'll be good. If he's forced to go out in public, it is going to get so embarrassing. I look forward to it. It's going to be
what is interesting, though, Jerry, about Joe Biden, I think you'd appreciate, with the latest Tara Reade allegations. I mean, these are pretty legitimate allegations.
Okay, hold that thought. I want to get to Tara Reade. That's a good one. And we got to get to Jeff Goldblum.
Yes.
Which you wrote about for
Outsports podcast, article coming later today.
You're writing about Jeff Goldblum, the latest, who may get canceled. He may have stepped over the line. We'll tell you all about that after I tell you about Shea Concrete. Shea Concrete. This is for you homeowners, you home builders out there. You want to know how you can improve that home, how you can improve your investment, the value of your home. You can call my brother-in-law Greg at Shea Concrete. He's got a huge selection of precast concrete steps, huge, and he's open and ready for business and waiting for you to show up and take a look, or maybe log on, maybe give him a call. But they're there for you, whether you're building a new home or you need to replace an old stair. Shea has great values with designs for any home, available in concrete, or you can customize with beautiful stone, granite, or brick. Beautiful. Is that one of Trump's adjectives? Beautiful, terrific, wonderful, strong, really strong front steps for your home. That's what you can get at Shea Concrete. A new staircase can dramatically upgrade the front entrance of your home. In most cases, they can remove your old stairs and have you walking up your new front steps within hours. Just like that. Your investment is improved. Your value is way up there. This works. This is a perfect spring project. Spring is not here yet. It's still winter out there, but it's coming. and you get time, I know you do, and you get some thoughts and you get some ideas on how to improve your home, this is a way. Call Shea. Check out their front steps, their precast concrete steps. Learn more about it at sheaconcrete.com. sheaconcrete.com. All right, before we get to Jeff Goldblum, this is, I'm going to tell you my take on Tara Reade, which I think you might find surprising. I am enjoying this blackout of the Tara Reade story. I'm enjoying the concerted effort, the conspiracy between the media and the Biden campaign, because it is so blatant, it is so brazen, it is so obvious that it's going to backfire. It's going to blow up on them because everybody, all they need to know is the basics. You know, here's a woman who worked for Biden, who knew Biden, who accused Biden of a sexual assault. They know the fix is in, the cover up is in. Just to give you a sense of how blatant and brazen it is, CNN, in the 19 days between the day that Brett Kavanaugh was accused by Christine Blasey Ford, that blatant liar. Oh, God. The day she accused him and the day was confirmed, 19 days, CNN.com featured 700 stories about Kavanaugh. To this day, they've had 2 that mention Tara Reade, and most of them are about, the Republicans pounce and all that, the reaction. It's not about the story itself. They've mentioned the other Tara Reade and her performance in Sharknado 2 more than they've mentioned this Tara Reade and her accusations against Biden. But it's so over the top that all the VP candidates, Stacey Abrams, Kamala Harris, Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren, all of whom absolutely vilified Brett Kavanaugh with zero evidence. An innocent man they tried to destroy him, have nothing to say about Tara Reade. This example is so good that, there aren't many people who actually think the media is not in the tank for Biden or in the tank for the Democrats. But this so illuminates it that you can't help but laugh. This is the best example I've ever seen of blatant media bias.
That's why you're so annoying, Jerry. I thought we were going to agree, sing Kumbaya, but no.
So you don't agree that this is a blatant example of media bias?
Why do you have to throw in that Christine Blasey Ford was lying?
Because she was lying, and it's a disgrace. This is a disgrace in the history of this country. We're going to look back and say one party in concert with the media tried to destroy an innocent man with his 2 daughters sitting there in the front row. Just
and a great women's and a great girls basketball coach as well.
Right.
Love being around the.
So you applaud that? They tried to destroy an innocent man with this made up nonsense from 30 years ago. Made it up. Tried to destroy him.
What was the name of his buddies in high school? The Boofer or whatever.
Boofer is referring to farts, Senator. That is going to be a low point. Sheldon Whitehouse, a good example. The guy who spent his time, that clown from Rhode Island, spent his time talking about farts. We will look back on the Kavanaugh hearings as one of the most disgraceful in U.S. history.
Okay, but I was going to say,
and when you couple it with this, a much, much more credible accusation against Biden for any number of reasons. First of all, she told a number of people at the time. We had a new one yesterday. A former neighbor said, yes, she told me that story. A Democrat, a Biden supporter, came out and said, yes, I was her friend. I was her neighbor. She told me at the time that Biden did this. A number of people did. First of all, she knew Biden. She knew when it happened. Christine Blasey Ford didn't even know what year it happened. She made it up. Oh, do you think, Julie Swetnick was telling the truth too? The Avenatti client?
No, but I think
so just some of the accusers were making it up.
If they actually have credible, if they actually have some credibility, Blasey
Ford has none. No credibility.
She told her therapist. She told others later on.
Years later.
Because it takes oftentimes, especially back then, you suppress
Alex, give it up. Give it up. She made it up.
Here's the point. I was going to say we agree because I at least am consistent. See, you're not. I'm consistent. I believed in Christine Blasey Ford because I believe women when the accusations appeared credible, and Christine Blasey Ford's accusations were credible.
They were the farthest thing from credible, Alex. They were a joke. Read up. Read the book that Molly Hemingway wrote. It's great.
As our October 2018 was a wonderful time for all of us. as are these accusations are totally credible. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And we have a call that her mother made to Larry King Live in
on CNN,
right?
Which buried it and didn't even show this. Someone else had to break the story about an interview on CNN that included the accuser's mother. CNN has been exposed like never before. Already. I mean, they were a joke to begin with, but in this case, on this story, they've been exposed as just a laughingstock, and that's a good thing. That's my point, that I'm enjoying this cover-up, which isn't such a great cover-up.
No, I mean, but we knew where CNN was the moment that they mic'd Liz Warren and had her pull that thing on Bernie. I mean, they've been totally with the establishment throughout this entire campaign. But I mean, no, Joe, it's actually, Jerry, you should also be enjoying this because it totally exposes the fraudulence and really the insignificance of the woke PC culture. Because give me a candidate who is less woke in PC than Joe Biden, of the sniffing hair, of now a credible sexual assault accusation, voting for these draconian crime bills throughout his career in the Senate.
It is amazing.
A war hawk as well. I mean, so all of these woke PC leftists, Democratic Party, they go with Joe Biden, and they're going right along.
Senile. You picked a senile hair sniffer who's been credibly accused of a sexual assault.
But here's the point. I mean,
I know you're not a big Buttigieg fan, but right now, if you had Buttigieg, people would be excited about getting rid of, Trump. There'd be all these people, the whole left. You'd be saying, we have an alternative. Does anyone on your side think you have an alternative to Trump right here? A viable alternative? You're a guy who cannot leave his basement without stepping on his tongue, falling down.
I don't know. I mean, Biden's success, Trump might still just have lost the election with this coronavirus. Biden might not even matter. I still believe that. But
Alex, you got debates. You're going to have debates. Good luck in those debates.
But you'll see again, though, you should enjoy this, Jerry. If Kamala Harris is named Biden's vice president, what a hypocrite she looks like. I mean, she was going after him in the debates for his opinions on segregation and busing, and no one's more woke, Me Too, than Kamala Harris. And then she's going to be vice president, a VP for someone with a very credible sexual assault, allegation against him.
Right.
I mean, they forced Al Franken out of the Senate for what? A picture, basically. Right?
Yes.
And Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. So it totally exposes the fraudulence of all that. And I
don't think they can hold out for long. Obviously, they're in the tank. All the Chuck Todds and Stephanopoulos are totally invested in Biden. It is a shaky proposition to think that that's your guy, and you need to prop him up for how much longer? What is this? This is April. I mean, say, June, July, August, September.
7 months?
6 more months. They have to prop up a guy who has serious cognitive issues, who is in decline, who I believe has dementia. I've seen it. He has dementia in its early stages, and it's not going to get better. In 3, 4, 5 months, he's going to be less coherent, less lucid, and you think that's the guy to knock off Donald Trump? I mean, I don't care how many people he's killed. Trump's killed 50,000, according to the New Yorker.
Yeah.
Say he kills 100,000. Is that enough so people will want to elect a man with dementia, a man who can't string 2 sentences together? What they're doing, and by the way, I used to think Hillary Clinton was the worst woman in American politics. I've changed. It is Dr. Jill Biden. This woman is cruel.
Oh, come on.
Cruel, putting her husband up there. I mean, if you've ever had anyone in your family with dementia, you protect them, you comfort them, you help them. This is torture, what she's doing to her husband, forcing him out there where he doesn't belong. And she does it. You can see it in her eyes. She's so power hungry. She wants it so badly. She doesn't care how bad he looks. She doesn't care how humiliating it is for him. She wants that power. She probably thinks she's the real president.
With these Tara Reade allegations, the more attention that gets paid to them, I'm still, mission cognitive issues, still not 100% convinced that Joe Biden is the nominee in November. My gut still tells me, I don't know if it's going to be Kamala Harris or maybe Cuomo emerging.
I think there's going to be a real movement in August when the convention is now to somehow, have Biden stepped down for medical reasons. Everyone would buy it. I'd believe it. You'd say his doctor thinks he's not up for it and draft Biden. But we'll see. I mean,
because a lot of your best arguments against Trump, like I think it is completely disingenuous to focus on Biden and ignore the 35 rape allegations against Trump. But
this woman made a criminal complaint against Joe Biden. This woman is facing perjury charges if she's lying. This is different. And this is fresh.
I was going to agree with you in the sense that, though, as a Democrat, with that now on Biden's record, you can't really bring that up. You can't bring up foreign policy, really, because Trump would go to the war in Iraq. You can't bring up
China.
China. You can't really bring up corruption and grift, which is, I think, one of the number one things to nail Trump on, how he's just grifted and given his family an immense fortune from the White House. But Biden can't do that. With Hunter
Trump's
Biden.
Lost money. He's lost billions.
Right. So
Biden,
any argument
you bring up, and by the way, Hunter's going to get back involved here. First debate, first 5 minutes, Trump's going to mention Hunter. Where's Hunter? Is Hunter here? As he's enjoying the 1.5 billion that he brought home from China when he flew over there with you, Sleepy Joe. Anyway, all right, we got to get to Jeff Goldblum before we go here. Jeff Goldblum, you wrote about this, or I
did a podcast article later today.
I couldn't believe. I mean, I know we've got two new crazy extremes here with the PC police and the cancel culture, but I generally see these stories. I say, oh man, you see what he did? He stepped in it. Jeff Goldblum asked a contestant on a show,
RuPaul's Drag Race, if the principles of Islam were consistent, with women's rights and gay rights. Do I have that correct? Yeah,
asked him if Islam was anti-woman.
Yeah, let's play the cut.
Visibility for people of religious minorities need to have in this country.
Isn't this an interesting wrinkle, though? Is there something in that religion that is anti-homosexuality and anti-woman? How does that complicate the issue? I'm just raising it, thinking out loud, maybe being stupid, but
no.
What do you think?
I think, drag has always shaken the tree, so to speak. And there are so many different layers to this presentation. And if it was ever going to be done, this is the stage to do it.
It's a complex issue. I have my own misgivings about the way that LGBT people are treated in the Middle East. And at the same time, I am one. But what is so important is, to me, that if you just happen to be different, then live that truth. And
then she starts crying.
Okay, you got to be kidding me. That he's in trouble for that, for asking if do they treat homosexuals, or should we say drag people, drag queens? What's the correct term? Don't get me in trouble here, Reamer.
Drag queens.
Do we really think Islam would treat drag queens differently than we do here? Oh no, they would put them on TV shows and make them celebrities in
well, here's the point, though. And I spoke with
Saudi Arabia. They're big. They have a big drag culture. It's called Saudi Arabia.
Well, and that's the point that I brought up with. I spoke with a queer Muslim writer on my podcast today, and the question I asked was exactly that. I'm like, his family's from Palestine. I said, well, how do you think it would be to be openly gay in Palestine when you're? And his point was, and it's a great one, is Jerry, when you say Muslims, there are 1.8 billion Muslims in the world. So when we say that, we're thinking about the Middle East. That is such a small percentage of Muslims universally. So when someone like Jeff Goldblum asks a question like that and puts 1.8 billion people under this huge umbrella, that's problematic.
Do you think the Muslim culture in general has a problem with homosexuals?
What do you mean by Muslim culture? It differs by the country. It differs by the region. Again, there's 1.8 billion Muslims.
Where are the ones that are very accepting? As Rick Grinnell pointed out that there are, 48 countries where homosexuality is punishable by death, and they're all Muslim countries.
I have to double check that statistic, but I'd say that those countries are in the Middle East.
You don't want to go there.
They're in Africa largely. But again, there's lots of Muslims in Indonesia's majority Muslim, and I think LGBT rights are fine there. It's plenty of Muslims in the United States who are open and accepting. Look at Rashid Tlaib, look at Ilhan Omar, what they believe. I mean, so to just lump 1.8 billion people,
they like homosexuals. They hate Jews, though. That's your problem.
But here's the thing, though.
They don't like you.
when we think of Muslim, the extreme sect of any religion, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, any Abrahamic religion is going to be anti-LGBT, anti-women. So Saudi Arabia, that government, and it's the government, not the people, that dictatorship is the extreme sect of the Muslim religious faith.
Which Christian countries do they throw gays off buildings?
If Jerry Falwell was president of the United States, I don't think he'd be
Jerry Falwell throw gay people off buildings.
I don't know if he'd go that
which
far.
Which Christian countries
would not be a great place.
Which Christian countries outlaw homosexuality and punish it by death?
I don't know punishable by death, but I know that Hungary, for example, is wiping transgender people out of existence. Hungary, that's not.
You have no answer for that. I asked for a Christian country that
I can go down on the
people.
line of tons of countries. I've just mentioned Hungary
Hungary punishes homosexualities by
Russia.
death.
No, but in Russia,
they punish gay people with death.
Well, look what happened in what was that southern region in Russia a couple years ago when they were
Muslim
Persian
region.
Well, but Chechnya, right? But Putin,
they're Muslims.
Putin let it happen. Putin has said there are no gay people in Russia. I mean, so it's not just.
He didn't
Muslim
say that.
countries.
That was Iran. It said there's no gay people in Iran.
Well, I mean, but let's talk about Iran. I mean, Iran had a democratically elected leader in the mid-20th century who wanted to nationalize the oil industry. So what did we do? We go in there, we install the Shah, then the Ayatollah takes power. So when we look at the Middle East, we are also to blame for a lot of these autocratic.
Forget it. Is Jeff Goldblum in trouble or not?
I think he'll survive this because again, he was on Drag Race. Like he was. There's nothing more.
And all he did was ask. Isn't it difficult to be a drag queen and be a Muslim? That's basically what he asked.
Well, but he wouldn't. But here's the point. And here's the point that the person I interviewed brought up too. He wouldn't have asked that same question if Jackie Cox, the drag queen, came from a devout Christian home. When the truth is,
Christians are more tolerant. Can't you just accept that?
The extreme sects of any Abrahamic religion are equally intolerant. Equally.
Okay, you just can't name a single Christian country or who wants to, punish gays by death. You can't.
I'd have to look at the list. All I know is I've been reading a lot about.
You don't have to look at the
Hungary.
list, Alex. They don't exist. Oh, there's the Alex that we all miss and hate, but totally off the rails. But
Listen, hate. What do you mean?
Huh? No.
Listen, hate. I'm right here.
You know where they tolerate gays? In North Korea. They have a very open drag culture in North Korea.
You think so?
We still don't know if Kim Jong-un is dead or alive, do we?
We don't. I think he is probably, I don't know, probably alive at this point, I would say. Alive.
I saw Dr. Mark Siegel on Fox last night. He said he's 5'6", 300, and he smokes 4 packs a day. So they're thinking he might be having a heart issue. So if he's dead, it will be no surprise. If he gets coronavirus, he's definitely dead. I mean, he's obese.
That's the theory that he's just that he's hiding from the virus.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Hiding from the virus. Well, that's what we're all doing here in the U.S. We're hiding from the virus, but not for long. By this time next week, you and I, half the country will be open. The other half will be ready to open. We are opening soon. There'll be lots of people who will still be getting sick and dying, lots of elderly people, vulnerable people. The difference will be that those will all be people murdered by Donald Trump. But he has to do it. He has to save the economy. We have to open the country. He has to face the facts that the media will blame him for everything and blame the Republican governors like Brian Kemp. But that's,
poor Brian Kemp.
That's
he
the
wanted
price
an attaboy
of doing
from Patty
business.
And didn't get it.
I know I did not like that. Trump should have supported Brian Kemp. He didn't. I didn't like that. That was weak stuff from the White House. But pretty soon, Kemp won't be alone. DeSantis will be there with half the country will be open. Kids will be back in school in lots of places. We'll still be hiding in our basements in New England with our masks on and asking permission to go out for a jog. But
Marty Walsh says, Jerry, no way Boston reopens anytime soon.
Yes, which is idiotic. Mayor Walsh is being foolish. There's plenty of ways you can start the reopening process. As I tweeted, and many, many people responded, construction should be back on. There's lots of outdoor construction. People aren't in any danger of transmitting the virus. There are so many, hundreds of construction jobs on hold for no good reason. I have a friend who has 25 jobs to do, a contractor in Boston. And he's working everywhere else around the state, but he can't work in Boston. 25 jobs on hold for no reason. Mayor Walsh, I know you're listening. Get off your ass and open up the city for business. This is insane.
You need to go to Flood Record.
I know you're a knee-jerk liberal, but there's no reason that people shouldn't be out there, doing paving and doing, construction in these buildings all over the city. They need to get back to work. Enough is enough.
Well, unfortunately, you can't keep people at home indefinitely and not give them money. And unfortunately, our federal government has completely dropped.
You don't have to give them money. They can get their own money. They want to work. They're not all liberals. They're not all sitting there with their palms out saying, gimme, gimme, gimme. Some people just want to work. Mayor Walsh, let them work. You can do whatever idiotic thing you want. You want to walk around with your stupid mask on and talk about how we have to go home at 9 p.m. or we'll all get sick. Fine. Let people do their thing. Let people run their businesses. This is so stupid. We're going to look back 1 year, 2 years, 10 years and say, what foolishness. We destroyed the economy voluntarily. We said, let's wreck the economy to protect whoever. I don't know who. We're already protecting the elderly. We're already protecting the sick. We're protecting young people who don't need protection. This is insane, but enough. We'll do it again tomorrow. I know we will. We'll do it every day until this madness ends. But Reamer from Outsports and Forbes and everywhere else, what do you got going on? Anything good?
I told you my Jeff Goldblum piece.
Oh, good. You
and
want to read about
maybe Patriots and Cam Newton, Jerry. Is there a reason why they have?
Oh, shut up. Reason? Yeah, Bill Belichick's this long history of racism. It's God knows how idiotic is that? Who tweeted that? Somebody.
I think Christina Anderson.
Josina Anderson tweeted that the Patriots don't want Cam Newton because he's black.
No. She just goes. Her sources say they haven't.
Doesn't have the guts to say it. Just implies it. Which
they haven't called Cam Newton, but she's not even going to ask because she knows the answer.
Yeah, she knows the answer. They're looking for a quarterback, but it has to be a white one. God, people lose their minds when it comes to the Patriots. These ESPN people just lose their minds. That's so stupid. Maybe we'll get into it tomorrow. I don't know. Anyway, thanks, Reamer. Thanks to Shea Concrete. Thanks to Allied Paving. And thanks to our buddies at DCU. You can check me out on Twitter at Jerry Callahan. You can check Cullinane at Dave Cullinane. Reamer, too. Reamer, are you at Alex Reamer? Is that what it is?
At Alex Reamer 1.
At Alex Reamer 1 to distinguish him from Alex Reamer 2 and 3. What a frightening thought that is.
Well, I dated Alex number 2, as you know.
Oh, don't start. We don't need to hear about that. We don't even need to hear about that. Anyway, maybe next week. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. This is the Callahan Podcast. We'll do it again tomorrow.